Welcome to the video tutorial series about effectively using LinkedIn for students and new grads. My name is Stacy Verhage. This is my LinkedIn profile here. I'm an experiential education professional. I've been working with students and new grads for over 10 years in a variety of post-secondary education settings. So I hope to shed some light on effectively using LinkedIn over the next few tutorials. So our 3 tutorials will be building your profile, building your network, and finding jobs. So these are designed so that you can stop and go at your own pace. The intention is that you will actually build your profile as you listen to these tutorials. There's also a comments section below. Feel free to start a discussion or ask me a question, and I will try and get back to you as soon as I can and help you achieve that profile that you're looking to build. So let's get started. Video number 1 is building your profile. The learning objectives for the Building Your Profile video tutorial are participants will be able to choose professional photos for their headshot and background, develop headline and summary sections describing experience, skills, and career interests, create strong education and experience descriptions with media examples, and understand the importance of the skills, accomplishments, and recommendations sections. So I have listed some of the timings below so that you can skip ahead or keep coming back to this video if you're focusing on a particular section. We're going to cover in this video are a few sections. The first one is photo, then your headline, a summary, your education, your experience and past work, including volunteer work and extracurriculars, your skills and accomplishments, and some recommendations. So LinkedIn tells us that profiles that are 100% complete are 40 times more likely to have opportunities. So building connections start with people seeing all that you have to offer. And now I thought I would start the building your profile section with explaining why it's important to have a profile. So I did some research and read some articles here and why it's important to have a profile. I did kind of survey some colleagues in the same area and read some articles. And the key pieces here are employers often look at social profiles when deciding to interview. It helps extend your resume. The history of the resume is kind of interesting too. So it used to be a piece of paper that you might drop off door to door, and then it became a more fancy Word document that you would type up an email. Now a lot of companies have online submissions and resume screeners, but now with LinkedIn, you can even apply to jobs and just send them your LinkedIn profile. So it's a very interactive and collaborative new age resume. Employers unofficially meet a candidate before the job interview by pursuing publicly accessible information. So they look at your profiles. This might not just be LinkedIn. They could look at your Facebook profile and look for some verbal and non-verbal behaviors based on your digital presence. So for the series of video tutorials, we're going to stick with LinkedIn, so your professional presence, but make sure you take a look at your Facebook and your Instagram or your if you have a blog, anything else, to make sure those really look professional, or you have your privacy settings appropriate so employers can't find all that personal information that you may not want shared with a future employer. Employers can make evaluations that mirror the face-to-face environment, yet the impressions are formed even before the first meeting. So they do make an impression based on your LinkedIn profile. It's really important to have a professional profile that really stands out and emphasizes your skills and attributes. That's a great segue into the first part, which is going to be your profile photo. So here's just the snapshot of a new account without a photo. So throughout this tutorial, I'm really going to try and use a lot of examples. So as I mentioned before, here's me with a nice professional photo. You can also have this new option to put a background photo. So you notice some people have it, some don't. I used a painting that my friends and I created, which I really, really like this painting, and I think it shows off kind of my creative personality. So here's Ari's profile. He's got a nice suit and tie on. He's looking straight at the camera, nice smile there. I like Parth's profile because he is a computer engineer. So he's really used this background photo to take advantage of kind of helping to show his skills and his interest as well. I like Cindy's photo. Again, a very professional looking photo. She's looking right at the camera, very professionally dressed, but just a nice background photo as well. It's very simple, just a laptop and some pens, just very professional, and that's appropriate for a work setting. And then the last profile picture I want to show you is Mike Leon here. So he's got a really nice smile and an interesting background, but I like what he did with this big background photo. It draws to a center point here, which is right behind his headshot. So it really brings the attention to his headshot. I just thought he did a really good job of using that extra background photo to bring the focus in on his professional smiling photo there. So research tells us that professional images suggest that a person holds competence and character traits that are essential for meeting the demands of their job. So our next step in completing our profile is the headline. Now the headline is this one line right under your name. So to give you some examples, this one, their name is Sample Student. So there's a few different things you can do with the headline. It's a short, memorable professional slogan. And now, according to an article in The Muse, there's some advice here about what your headline should accomplish. So there's 4 steps here that I thought were pretty good. You want to add your specialty. So if you're a programmer or in another technical field, consider using some of the specifics, like the languages that you know, or maybe you just want to add an area with the amount of experience you have. Incorporate your future job in it. So if you are a student, you're just kind of searching, you can either put here, they're saying they're a content marketing enthusiast or a future Android developer. That really tells people what you're interested in. Include what you do. You can even put what you do as a student, what program you're in specifically, or if you have a part-time job or a volunteer position that you're interested in, you could add that. And then show off your accolades, I guess very briefly, because it is just a quick headline. There's not too many characters in here to type. Think of it kind of like a Twitter post. You have very limited characters here. So they've just listed some of their accomplishments that they're proud of, that they were a PR manager featured in the Boston Globe and Bostino. So maybe if you did a research project and you were published in a certain journal, that could be something you could add in your headline if that's the area you'd like to pursue. Always keep it focused on what you'd like to pursue. So I do want to go back to show you 3 different examples here of your type of headline. So this is the sample student. So they've said they're a business marketing student seeking a challenging summer position and skilled social marketing enthusiast. So again, that's the kind of what their future ambition is. I like this one of Sandra, who's a career development professional. So she said, experienced, hope-filled career development professional dedicated to helping post-secondary students find their way. And then I'll just go back to mine. I just kind of left it general. I've had a variety of position titles in my past, and I know you guys are students and new grads, so you probably haven't had too many positions, but I left it more broad because position titles can change, but my duties were pretty similar. So I said an experiential educational professional. Now we're moving on to that summary section. So that is the section here. Here's your name, here's your headline, and then right below is a summary. So I thought this was an interesting article written by Celeste, who works at Grammarly, where she's outlining the 3 tips for writing the best LinkedIn summary. So you write your summary in the first person, unless you're a celebrity or public figure. We all know you wrote it yourself, so I don't think any of us are at that stage yet where we can afford to have someone else write our summary. So keep it in the first person, keep it short, get concise, clear and concise and to the point, and hopefully you have 4 to 5 paragraphs that are no more than a sentence or 2 each, and then proofread everything. If I can give you any advice in this video at all, it would be to proofread. Proofread 3 times and then get 2 other people to proofread. That is a huge piece in any job search, is resumes, cover letters, your LinkedIn profile, social media. It just really shows that you're organized and detail oriented and you care. Errors in your profile just means that you didn't put that time and effort in. It comes across as though you might not care as much about it. So I want to give again some examples. So this is our sample student. So there's about 5 paragraphs here. So I'll just pause here a little bit. You can read through, but again, they have the first person. Here they've mentioned some of their skills, interpersonal skills to communicate with clients effectively, strong communication skills. They've outlined they're diligent, they're passionate about their work, and what they're looking for. So they continue to seek opportunities to grow in a specific area, so their marketing skill set. I'm going to take a look at Parth, which is quite different. He is a computer engineer again. So again, it's the first person. He's talked about his experience during his internship. He's talked about some of his grades on his internship, his knowledge in different areas. Here's some skills. And he's also listed programming languages that he knows and he's very familiar with, which is great because he can list those specific technical skills here. And then Ari. So Ari is completely different. He's in a business program. Actually, he's pursuing his MBA and his law degree. So very ambitious Ari, but again, here he's talking about his skills. His is in the third person. I still believe he wrote it himself, but that's okay. So he's got his skills in here and he's talked about some of his experience and his academic excellence. Okay, so now I'm at the education section. So I did skip down a little bit. I skipped experience. I want to come back to that one. So we went from your photo, your name, your headline, your summary, and now going down to education. So what I like here is we're not just listing the school, the degree, the years you were there. We can expand on that a little bit and talk about maybe some of the projects you worked on or some extracurriculars you were involved in. I really like here in Malin's profile, she talked about an association she was involved with. She also talked about some of the courses that she took and what she learned in those courses. She mentioned some of her areas of interest as well. Really did a good job here just expanding on that. Going back to Ari again, because she talked about courses mostly, but Ari mentioned here that he's part of the varsity water polo team. Sometimes we don't think of adding sports because they don't seem relevant to the job, but anything that, especially team sports, that really shows the teamwork skills and experience, and it takes hard work and dedication. Making a varsity team, it isn't easy, right? You have to try out. There are a lot of expectations on practices, sometimes really early morning or late evening practices along with your studies. Maybe you didn't do sports, but you play piano. You're really good at piano. Again, it shows that dedication, that hard work, that perseverance, that commitment to that. So add all types of things like that. I want to show Parth as well. So Parth has added some things he's in. He's in the robot fighting club, right? That's really interesting. And he went into multiple competitions during his time at York too. He's talked about when he graduated and his internship, and then he took a course at one of the affiliates, which is the Schulich School of Business as well. So he can't quite mention that he has a degree from Schulich because he just took a course, but I think it is important to note that he did take that course. So that's a great place to put that. I'm going to mix it up a bit and talk about skills and accomplishments before experience because I feel like they flow well together with what we were just talking about putting your activities. So I'm in Ari's profile again. And so there is this section where your network can endorse your skills. So I think you can suggest them and then people can endorse them. I think they've gotten very interesting where you can kind of accept or deny these endorsements. I know when they first started, I'm just flipping really through to my profile. I have 63 for recruiting, 50 for coaching. I think they just came fast and furious at me. So I think it was an exciting time when LinkedIn added this feature, but I'm glad to see it's still here. So it really just kind of backs up your network, and it's kind of like a reference for that skill, just you have that many people endorsing your skill. What I see Ari has is this accomplishment section. This is a good place where he's gotten to put his honors and awards, and it has a big number beside how many, which is very impressive that he's got 11 honors and awards. And you can see here he's talked about a bunch of entrance scholarships from when he went from high school to university. He's got a Dean's Award in here. He's got an Athletics Achievement Award. He's also got some publications, so maybe some of you as students or new grads did have a chance to write a thesis as part of your undergrad, or you're working on that now, and it did get published. It doesn't have to be as official as published in a journal. I guess you'd want to just kind of specify exactly what it is and maybe where it was published too. He's also talked about some courses that he's taken likely outside of his university education, and then an organization he's affiliated with as well. I do want to go, I don't mean to jump around, but I do want to go up to the activity section, which I kind of skipped over. This is where if you're writing articles on LinkedIn, it will show up in your activity too. And some people are writing those articles and publishing them. Those are showing up in their profile quite a bit. An example of that, I've just jumped over to my colleague Evan's LinkedIn profile, and Evan's written a few articles and had some activities here. So whether he likes something, but it sounds like he's actually written an article called "What's the Deal with All the Lego?" So those show up in his profile, and potential employers and part of your network can read those and see what you're writing about and see what you're interested in. It's just further backing up and supporting your interest in a specific area. Now I'm moving on to the recommendations section. I am kind of jumping from what I originally intended, but I do want to end on the experience section just because that is kind of the meat and potatoes of the profile and the most similar to what your typical resume would look like. So recommendations are pretty much references right on your LinkedIn profile. So I'm on Parth's profile at the moment, and so he's received 5 recommendations. So it's just a quick paragraph about his work and his skills. What I want to mention here is it's both important to receive and give these. I think you'll find you'll receive more if you give them to others as well. So he's received 5 and given 6, which is great. And he's got them from a variety of people, some old colleagues, maybe even a manager as well. I'll go down to my profile. I've received 8 and given 22. Oh wow, I don't remember giving all those, but that's great. So I have kind of a paragraph here, and people have said how they know me and how we work together, and what some of my skills are here. So recommendations are a great thing to have. I wouldn't say you necessarily have to give 22, but having 5 or 6 on your profile is great. Okay, so now I'm at that experience section, which really is something you've likely seen before. This is kind of what we have on our resume. We list our position title, the company, the dates we worked there, the location, and then bullet points about what we did on that job. So what I really want to emphasize here is what we're not doing is just listing a laundry list of our tasks at that job, what we were responsible for. What we want is accomplishment statements. So they should always start with an action verb. What I have here is conducted, maintained, developed, proposed, prepared, an action verb, and then that task. So I'm going to just take a few minutes to go over how to create that accomplishment statement. So I'm going to pull up one of my resources here. So accomplishment statements, and this resource is for writing your resume, but this is the part of the LinkedIn profile that is similar to your resume. So what you need to do in these statements are make them very targeted, make sure they include results, and mention how you got results, and qualify it. So we have some examples here. So some places to look for accomplishments. Sometimes it's very hard. You're thinking, how can I make handling cash into an accomplishment statement? All I did was take cash from customers at my part-time job at Dairy Queen. It wasn't very accomplishment based. I would say one's a great accomplishment, right? It involves communication, it involves organization, cash handling, counting. How much cash? I think the easiest way to qualify it is to add a quantity there or add a quote from someone. Dairy Queen, if you worked there in the summer, how many people did you see a day, right? If you processed over 100 transactions a day using credit, debit, cash, those are all different systems that involve different types of knowledge on how to work that system. So we'll just give you kind of the formula here. Or there's 2 possible formulas. So the first one is you can start with an action verb, say what you did and how you did it and the result. So if you facilitated a dynamic 2-hour presentation on applying to graduate and law school at an academic advising session, and you were commended by the professor for speaking confidently throughout the session. That's great. You added that result piece to it. Or here you can say the action verb, the result or skill, and what you did and how you did it. So it's the same thing, you're just kind of reorganizing it. So you were promoted from an order clerk to a shift coordinator within 8 months based on the avid interest I took in my team members and environment and my inspired suggestions for improving efficiency and morale. So what I like here is the suggestions right here on what that result could be. So you made or saved money, you increased efficiency, that's a big one. You saved time, you met or exceeded a quota, maybe you met a deadline, or you received excellent feedback. You improved a process, you received a great comment, but also from who? Was it a client, a supervisor? So I hope that gives you some ideas. What I also want to show you is you're thinking, okay, I kind of get this. I get the accomplishment, I get the result. It's hard to come up with the action verb, and I don't want to see worked. Please do not use worked as your action verb. That is a given that you were working. Okay. So I found this resource online too, and it kind of sorts them into skills and gives you some action verbs here. So what is it? A communication skill? Maybe you collaborated, or you moderated, you negotiated, you interviewed in research skills, or did you have creative skills? You introduced, you integrated, you fashioned, you established. you expanded, you resolved. So I'm just, this might be a good time to pause on this screen so you can really use this resource, and I'll add the link in the description for this video below as well. The one thing I do want to mention with those accomplishment statements, I would add, especially in your experience section, I would add your volunteer experience here as well. So I have that I was the co-chair of the Career and Work Counselor Alumni Committee. That was a volunteer position, but I still have accomplishment statements here. Especially for students and new grads, I would even add accomplishment statements under your education. Maybe you're listing a specific course or a specific project you worked on. You could put some accomplishment statements to do with that course or that project. Maybe you had to work on a project with 5 people, and even if it was a mock situation or a case study, you still had to work up that case study and maybe use some technical skills or a software program you haven't used before. You could always add those in as well. The final thing I want to talk about today is adding media to your profile to really enhance your experiences. So I'm going to show you my colleague Arisha as an example. So in her past experiences, she's really added some of the projects that she's worked on. You can click on them and see what the project was and see her work effort there and how detailed she is and diligent to complete those. So as a student or new grad, I'd also say you can add some of your projects to your education as well. Maybe you want to talk about a course that you completed and a major project you completed. You also have the option of uploading media there too. So that's it for this video. I think it's quite comprehensive, and hopefully that's giving you a great starting point to get your LinkedIn profile started. The next video is building your network. Again, feel free to comment in the discussion below. Leave me a comment and I will try and get back to you, as well as stop, go back and replay this video as much as needed to build your LinkedIn profile. Thanks again.